We'll pick our teams for the game. Alisson Becker will be in goal, Theo, but at the back, I'm going to bring Joel Matip in, but I don't think there's really an argument for Kostas Tsimikas after what Andy Robertson did at the weekend.
No, I think you're spot on there. I think this team pretty much picks itself. The last two results have played into Liverpool's hands, and the fact that they've been able to give Virgil van Dijk a night off against Porto, or they've been able to take players off early. And it's one where there isn't really many hard decisions to have because you've got these players coming back from injury. Like Konate, even if he'd had the game of his life against Porto or Southampton, you'd have still expected to see it being Matip was taken out against Southampton with an eye on this one because you wanted your strongest back four, your Champions League final winning back four. With Robertson, it's a case of he's had his game out against Porto, came back from injury, so brilliant at the weekend. You'd expect him to keep his place as well. If they're all fit, it's going to be Trent, Van Dijk, Matip and Robertson with Alisson in goal. You just can't see Klopp going for anything else. But at the same time, he does like a Merseyside Derby surprise. With it being a 3:00 kickoff on Saturday, they've got that extra day recovery. It could work out well for them. And maybe you save more of your changes for Wolves. I think that's the one next weekend. But there's no reason for him to change it up too much if he doesn't need to for this one. So, yeah, but basically a really long-winded way of saying, yes, Matt, I agree.
Sean, do you agree as well? And if you do, you might as well talk us through your midfield.
Okay, well, not quite at the back. Certainly 100% agree with Robertson, but Konate for me, I just think Liverpool will be squeezing. You want that recovery pace. I think, weirdly for a Benitez team, Everton have looked so vulnerable at set pieces this season, and I think it's there's not a lot in it, but between Konate and Matip in terms of threat at the other end of the pitch. But I'd marginally go with Konate just for that little bit of a bigger presence. And I think in time, obviously Van Dijk is already clearly the most threatening defender, the centre back at least from set pieces. But I think Konate could, potentially catch him up when he gets fully used to things. So I'd go that way around, and I'd look to bring Matip in at the weekend. Midfield. Yeah, I mean, there's maybe half a shout for Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's done well when called upon recently, and he did look good in that combination of him, Thiago and Fabinho. But I think you've just got to go with the one that started at the weekend. And the fact that a couple of them came off early, Fabinho stayed on, didn't he? But the other two guys got 60, 65, 67 minutes maybe. I think that was the sign to say that they're Klopp's men on Wednesday night. And yeah, I'd totally go with that three.
Yeah, Thiago, Henderson and Fabinho for me. Only the fourth time it would be, I think, on Wednesday night. It was only the third, wasn't it, over the weekend that they've played together. Is that the same for you, Theo, or do you think that might be the area where Klopp does his typical mad throw one in for, maybe James Milner comes in out of the blue, or Divock Origi plays there, or something strange? There's usually something.
Not as strange as Divock Origi playing centre mid. That would be a mad one, Matt, even for Klopp for this. I think he, like I said with the defence, he's got enough recovery time to just put the three out that you'd expect, the first choice three. Milner, I think we were saying on the podcast last week, it wouldn't be a surprise if he had been brought in, but there is enough recovery time, and it was a case of players taken off early with the game won, with Henderson coming off early, Thiago not even getting an hour because the game was already won. That was very much going to be because you're playing them in the derby. There was no sign of injury there. If Liverpool didn't want to start Thiago against Everton, then why'd you take him off after 58, 59 minutes against Southampton? So you'd be very surprised if Thiago isn't starting and if Henderson isn't starting. Fabinho, I suppose, by that logic, could come out and you have Henderson as number 6 with Oxlade-Chamberlain there or something. But when there's no reason to change what should be the strongest Liverpool midfield three, and then Wolves is the game where you maybe change things up, where you put in Oxlade-Chamberlain or you put in Milner. God knows when Naby Keita is going to be back. He seems to be missing in action at the moment. We don't know how serious his injury is. Same for Curtis Jones, for an eye injury that we don't know much about. That seems to be keeping him out for a while. But from what the options are available, it's three very obvious men in the middle of the park. And again, that's a very long-winded way of saying I agree with Matt.
I suppose it's a similar situation with the front three as well, Sean. Obviously, we joked there about Divock Origi possibly coming in or something like that. But, again, Diogo Jota came off. He was on a hat-trick, but he took him off early against Southampton. That's surely got to be a sign that it's going to be the same three again, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is always an argument for Divock Origi against Everton just to see in what new or different way you can try and torment them. But yeah, I just think he's the first change, probably, isn't he, when you're looking to mix up that front three with an eye on Wolves if all is going well, or alternatively if it's not, he's a decent option to come on. But yeah, there's no doubt it's the front three, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yep, the front three for you as well, Theo. Is it the same again, or is there a shout for somebody mad coming in?
It should be the same three. It'd be very harsh to bench Jota after he's got that brace. You just can't take Salah out of the team at the moment. And Mane, when he's in form as well, doesn't make sense to take him out. There is that argument for Origi, but he's never actually scored at Goodison, despite all his goals against Everton. So while it'd be a great time for him to step up and break that duck, because I think he's got, 5 goals against him at Anfield in the past, you got to play the game, not the occasion. Putting Origi in up front would be playing the occasion because of that tag that comes with him of already scoring against Everton. Liverpool's front three is better than Divock Origi. They should be the three that hopefully hammer another nail into the Everton coffin.
Yeah, hopefully it's a similar sort of situation against Southampton at the weekend, where you can maybe make 1 or 2 changes after an hour or 70 minutes. But just before we go, we'll finish with match predictions. It's always a hard one to predict. I'm going to go 2-0 to Liverpool. I think it will be fairly comfortable, but I can't see it being an absolute battering. Sean, I'll come to you first. What are you going to predict for the game?
Given me big words before, I'll go one better. I'll say 3-0, and I'm fairly confident there'll be a set piece goal. So I'll throw in a Van Dijk goal as well for good measure.
Yeah, Van Dijk set piece goal, that would certainly put a smile on a lot of Liverpool faces. Theo, how do you reckon it might be?
I'm looking forward to seeing what celebration Van Dijk comes out with if he scores. Don't want that. We want something to do with his leg, don't we? Point at his knee or something. I'll go 3-1. Everton, I expect a little bit more life in them. I don't think the crowd will let them roll over and die or anything. So Liverpool have been a bit shaky defensively. It seems the sort of game where they could score in, but Liverpool seem to score 3 in every game at the moment. So maybe it'll be one where it's very tight. Liverpool winning late on, Everton start to push forward a bit and start playing for the final 10 minutes and just get done on the break with Salah having half the pitch to himself, something like that. But it's the most confident you can feel going into a derby, I think, especially in comparison to last season when Liverpool were in such a good place and Everton, I can't remember them being in such a bad place ahead of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. The form says that Liverpool should win, so fingers crossed that is the case. But I think that just about brings us to the end of today's podcast. Thanks to Theo and to Sean for joining me, and for you at home too for watching and listening as ever. We'll have all of the coverage of the Merseyside Derby across the Echo, Liverpool.com and Blood Red. Until next time, though, it's goodbye for now.